Okay, good morning. Good morning, Victor. Can you hear me?
Morning to you.
Oh, nice. Okay, very good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining our session today. My name is Cynthia Kerubo from the Tax Education Division, and without much further ado, I think we can begin our session. It's now 11. As usual, we have our Tax Thursdays every single Thursday, depending with the theme of the month. This month's theme has been on eTIMS, and today it's not any different. We would like to address the eTIMS matters that are arising and even all your questions. So, a few house rules as we begin. Um, if you have any query, you can start typing in the chat box. And also, at the end of the session, we'll also give an opportunity to those who would like to raise their hands and good morning once again. Um, Thank you for taking the time to join our session today. So, as usual, we have our Tax Thursday trainings every Thursday, and this Thursday is not any different. We have been running with the eTIMS theme. So, for this Thursday as well, we are going to talk about eTIMS and matters that are arising from uh, the eTIMS presentation. With us also is a presenter from Customs, and she will also answer some of the frequently asked questions on about passengers who are using our Kenyan borders to travel. Additionally, we'll also have a bit of integrity and national values, and our presenter will be Madam Caroline Gitegi from the ISO office. So welcome everybody, participants, presenters. Thank you for taking the time. So my name is Cynthia Kirubo. I'm from the Tax Education Division, and I'll be your moderator for the day. So without further much ado, I'd like us to pray even as we begin the session. Let's believe in praying. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity you've given us to learn as we are going to, as we've settled in, ready to learn. We pray for a spirit of understanding and a willingness to do the right thing. Bless our presenters of the day. May you guide them and see them through. And it's in Jesus' name I pray, trusting and believing. Amen. So thank you once again for logging in. I have noticed that our chat is a bit full. So we have shared a link on the chat. You may kindly share that link with the rest of your friends so that they can be able to join through our KRA TV platforms. So we are live on KRA TV and the YouTube pages. So we invite all of you to share that link with those who might not be able to join through the Zoom platform. So thank you so much. I'd like to give it now over to Victor to begin with the eTIMS presentation. And also, if you might be having any queries, you can be typing the questions on the chat box. We have a team that will be responding to those questions. And at the end of the presentation, we'll also be able to give you a chance to raise your hand and even ask your query. So thank you. Victor Karibu, you may proceed with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Uh, great. So my name is Victor Mwangi from the eTIMS Operations Office, and I'll be taking you through the eTIMS presentation. So just to start us off, sorry for that. It's what eTIMS is. What do you think of when you hear eTIMS? To me, I feel like rather I usually say that eTIMS is that guy who's been pursuing you for the longest time, and you've just been playing hard to get, but it has come a time where you just have to bear with them and work with them. So that's eTIMS for us. And I just have a presentation that I'd like to take us through. So you can, if you allow me, I'll just project that. So, so yeah, so for today, what we'll be covering is the general view, or rather the overview of what eTIMS is all about. The onboarding of non-VAT taxpayers, as I'm sure most of you saw the notice that was, you know, gazetted recently. Three, will be also looking at electronic tax invoice transaction exemptions, the ones that at least are exempt from having to use the electronic tax invoice system. Uh, Next, we'll look at the objectives of eTIMS. We'll also look at the benefits that eTIMS offers to VAT taxpayers. I will also look at the software solutions that we have provided. And finally, we'll look at the procedure for onboarding eTIMS. So to start us off, let's just talk about eTIMS. So eTIMS came about to provide a very simple, convenient and flexible environment for taxpayers to comply. Yeah. So you find that with eTIMS, we have provided a variety of devices that taxpayers can use for purposes of transmission. Because initially we just had the ETR gadget, which was fairly efficient, but with now the variety of options, I mean, it has made life easier for taxpayers. So the solutions available at the moment include an online portal, which we'll get to maybe discuss in depth later on. We have a Windows or also an Android-based software. We refer to it as eTIMS client. That it's a software that you get to download. Um, you download the software to either your laptop. Um, just give me a second. So yeah, um, in case you cannot see very well what I'm projecting, please stop me so that I don't move and yet we're not flowing together. So yeah, so we have provided a variety, and that's the eTIMS. I was at the Windows or Android based software solution. So these are softwares that you get to either download on your mobile phone, on a Windows device, that's your laptop or a desktop, or even a tablet for purposes of invoicing. And finally, we have system to system integration. And what this means is um, for businesses that already have a billing system in place, POS, that's the likes of QuickBooks, Sage, you name them. We provide for system to system integration in a way that through a third party, they're able to integrate your system so that it transmits directly to KRA. So in that you won't have to download the software once again. It's just you continue using the system, but at the same time, it's able to transmit in real time. So, eTIMS facilitates compliance to tax requirements at a minimized cost. Because if you look at previously, the ETR machines were quite costly, if you ask me, because they were ranging from about 30,000 to 60,000 per gadget. And with eTIMS, it's a free solution. Yeah, it's a free solution in that all you need is a computing device, that's a mobile phone or even a laptop for purposes of invoicing. So once you have that, the softwares are free, the solution is free. So the next thing is we are at the compulsory phase because full rollout of eTIMS. It happened in the 1st of March 2023, and it was initially targeting VAT taxpayers. Yes, it was initially targeting VAT taxpayers, and s- sorry for that. Um, I'm just in a noisy environment. Sorry for that. So, with the provision of the Financial Act 2023, the scope of eTIMS now has extended to now non-VAT taxpayers. That's businesses that are operating also under the income tax bracket. That includes monthly rental income, income tax resident, income tax corporate, and also partnership. So this is a public notice that was provided You can just skim through. Yeah, so that it just captures that from the 1st of September 2023, including the non-VAT, they're expected to now onboard on eTIMS, because from 1st of January 2024, claiming deductibles will have to, borrow from eTIMS, and that's what I'll explain in this slide. So the Finance Act introduced Section 23A, which requires every person in business to transmit electronically, that's their invoices, through an electronic management system prescribed by the commissioner, that's eTIMS. So as at the 1st of September 2023 is when the rollout was, and now also non-VAT taxpayers are now expected to onboard on eTIMS, because from 1st of January 2024, income, expenditure, or loss shall not be deductible unless it's through an invoice that's TIMS or eTIMS compliant or valid. So these are the non-VAT taxpayers that we're covering, at least for this period of time. So we have turnover tax, that's TOT. We have MRI, that's monthly rental income. We have income tax. Yeah, so we have TOT, MRI, income tax corporation, income tax partnership, and also income tax resident and non-residents with permanent establishments. So let's also look at the exempt transactions that do not need to be run through the eTIMS platform. So we have as per Section 23A, paragraph 4 of the TPA, that's the Tax Procedures Act 2015, it provides that the commissioner may exclude these transactions from being run through the eTIMS system. The first one is emoluments received or payable subject to pay under the Income Tax Act. The other one is importation of goods under the East African Community Customs Management Act. There is importation of services from a foreign country, which we all know is exempt. There's interest income for financial institutions as defined in the Income Tax Act Cap 470. There's investment allowances as provided in the second schedule of Income Tax Act of the Income Tax Act. We have airline passenger ticketing, and finally any other exemptions granted by the commissioner in accordance with the law. So in case of anything else that's added to that list, it will be communicated. So KRA is working on publishing guidelines to taxpayers on transactions exempt from electronic transmission. So it will be availed very soon on the KRA website. So let's also look at the objectives of eTIMS. The first thing, very obviously, is to increase tax revenue. There's also minimize the cost of compliance, as I explained earlier on. It is also eTIMS is also in place to increase tax compliance and accountability.
Hello, Victor.
Yes, please.
Sorry, let me just interject a bit. I think your screen is immobile.
Okay.
Are you able, maybe you can enable editing up there on the screen so that, because we've seen those responses on the chats, and I'm sure that's the question coming up from those who've raised their hands. John? Yeah.
Pardon? What?
Hmm?
Or you're
Yeah.
talking about enable editing? I
Yes,
see.
yes.
So now everyone is able to view.
Um, okay, so I think the screen has disappeared.
Okay, let me just try share it once again.
Mm,
Let me just share my entire screen
mm-hmm.
and see if that works.
Yes, please.
Is that better?
Yeah, better? Yeah, yeah, nice.
Okay, sorry
Nice.
for that.
All right.
So yeah, the maybe the remaining objectives is to also provide additional options to taxpayers through increasing the number of options that they have. That's the different devices that they can opt to use depending on their convenience. And finally, we have to address the missing trader phenomenon. So, what are the benefits of eTIMS to taxpayers? The first thing is to foster fair business environment, and if all businesses can comply, I mean, we won't have preferences because one entity is selling their products at a cheaper price because they're not applying VAT. So it will ensure that all businesses are running through the same ecosystem. So the other thing is flexibility, and that's through offering various or other variety of devices, and the softwares are upgradable. So we also have faster processing of VAT refunds, and this is simply because the moment you transmit to carry all your invoices as is required, you're able to tell your credit or debit position just from your transmission. So you see it won't have we won't have to again go through the bookkeeping uh, or rather your record keeping to be able to get your position, rather your refund position. So since we have visibility of everything that goes on, it becomes very easy. So there's also the stock management module that assists taxpayers in maintaining their own inventory, and this was mainly put in place to at least for even small businesses. For small businesses, it's to allow them to be able to track all their items, and it just makes running your business easier. The more you get to interact with the system, you'll get to see how efficient it is. So there's also simplified return filing, which is in the works of being rolled out. So this will entail having a pre-filled VAT return that now the taxpayer just can go through to see if everything that they transmitted has been captured, or in the case that there are some transactions that have not been captured, they can edit the document upwards. Note that you can only edit the document upwards, but you cannot remove any transactions from the pre-filled return. Finally, we have non-intrusive verification of tax processes. And by this, I mean if you generate an invoice using the uh, eTIMS system, it usually comes out with a QR code. We'll view a few samples of invoices at the very end, but it comes with several details, and one of the features includes a QR code. So this QR code is used for verification because if you scan, it just gives you the details of the transactions and it shows that it's powered by eTIMS. So that's how you can verify that it's actually a genuine or a valid invoice. So let's explore the different solutions that we provide on eTIMS platform. So we have 5 solutions. That's the eTIMS PayPoint Windows, eTIMS Multi PayPoint Windows, we have eTIMS PayPoint Android, we have eTIMS online portal, and finally we have virtual sales control unit or online sales control unit. In many cases, I like to categorize them into three. We have the first three as a pay point options. We have number four as a standalone as well as an online portal, which is an online portal. And finally, we have the system to system integration, which is now the virtual sales control unit and the online sales control unit. So as I explained earlier on, this provides, I'll start with the VSU or SU, and this provides for system to system integration between now the taxpayers billing system and KRA. And we have published third-party integrators that have been approved by KRA that are on our website that can facilitate this third-party integration. So please take note of that. We go backwards now. So the second one is eTIMS online portal, and this is suitable for businesses that operate in the service sector. That's exclusively. So what this means is if your business just deals with services only, the online portal is what's suitable for you. So the moment maybe the FAQ that usually comes out, or rather usually comes up when it comes to now the solutions is, in case you mainly deal with services and at one point you see just very rarely you get to supply items. So at the moment you introduce a supply to your business, you do not fit the criteria of onboarding on the online portal. So this is exclusively, only and exclusively for people in the service, taxpayers in the service sector. So it usually does not specifically need one device because it runs on a web application, meaning that you can log in using any device. So we come to the first three, which are the first one, especially number one, is the one that's mainly in use. That's the eTIMS PayPoint Windows and eTIMS PayPoint Android. So let's start with differentiating the first two. eTIMS PayPoint Windows, this is mostly for businesses that deal with supplies, that's goods, and also, so this is a maybe caveat for eTIMS PayPoint Windows and eTIMS PayPoint Android. It's for businesses that deal with goods and can also offer services. Um, so if you're dealing with both goods and services, eTIMS PayPoint Windows should be the solution for you, or eTIMS PayPoint Android, depending on the device that you will choose to use for computing purposes. So so um so the difference between eTIMS PayPoint Windows and eTIMS Multi-PayPoint Windows is that for eTIMS PayPoint Windows, it's usually for standalone businesses. For example, I can give a hardware. Yeah. So you see, for a hardware, it just operates singularly. Yeah. And it might have branches. So in the case that you introduce a branch or your business has branches, eTIMS PayPoint is a solution for you because you can add as many branches as you have. So for eTIMS multi-PayPoint Windows, this is for like a supermarket setting where you find that there are different paying points. Yeah, there are different tills, there are different cashiers, but now the thing is all the different pay points are integrated into one kind of server, and that's what is used for transmission purposes. So that's the difference between the two. So for both, for the Windows solutions, you either need a laptop or a desktop to operate them. And some of the requirements that we look at for the device that you're using, either a laptop or a desktop, is that it should be running on a Windows operating system of Windows 10 and above. So if it's below that, Windows 7, Windows 8, we won't be able to facilitate that. So for eTIMS PayPoint Android, as the name suggests, it's for businesses that it's for the same kind of business, but now Android version of it. It's an Android version of it. So this means that you get to just download it on a smartphone or even a tablet, and maybe the requirements to look at for the device is that it should be running under the Android version should be 8 and above as the operating system. And for all these solutions, please note that you'll be needing to be connected to the internet to at least use the system. Because if you run the invoices offline, it won't be able to go to the point of transmission. So that's it on the different software solutions. So we get to look at the onboarding procedure. So for onboarding purposes, there is a bit where the taxpayer applies, and then there's now where KRA comes in to do the approval process, and now finally the taxpayer gets to now raise invoices and again transmit to KRA. So in a nutshell, that's what usually happens. So for onboarding, the taxpayer is to, go to any web browser and search for eTIMS taxpayer portal. So once you search for that, this is what you'll be able to see. So this is the eTIMS taxpayer portal. You find it, the URL is etims.kra.go.ke, and this is what appears. So if you have not registered on eTIMS before, the first step would be to sign up and create an account. So once you click on sign up, it takes you to the sign up page, and you'll be required to enter your PIN. Once you enter your PIN, there's a verify button that you select, and it's able to auto-populate the rest of your details. So for you, it's to confirm that the details are in order and create a password. The other thing to note is that there is a one-time password, an OTP that's usually sent to your phone number. And by your phone number, I mean the phone number registered on iTax for that particular PIN number. Yeah. So that's where an OTP is sent that you will receive to be able to complete the sign up process. So note that the phone number that is registered on iTax is the one that you have or are using, because otherwise you won't be able to get the PIN, the one-time password that's usually sent to complete the sign up process. So once you finish the sign up process and you're done, the next thing is now it will bring you to this page once again, and it's for you to log in. So you'll enter your user ID, which is your PIN number, and the password you'll have created. And once you log in, the next thing you do is you make a service request. Yeah. So if you can see, this is a sign up where you enter your details, and the one-time password is sent, and then now you sign up to sign in to make the service request. So for the service request, what is required is to select the solution that's suitable for your business. So from the description I gave for the different software solutions, it's now upon you to choose the one that applies to your business. So you find that some taxpayers make an error when it comes to the choice of e-client or rather eTIMS solution, and you find that most of the times the applications are usually rejected. So it's very important for you to be very careful to make the right selection. So after you select the eTIMS solution for your business, if you select eTIMS client, you'll be required to also provide the serial number. That's the PayPoint solutions that we listed. You'll be required to enter the serial number of the device that you'll be using. So once you do that, the other two documents that you'll be required to upload are the director's ID and a signed commitment letter, acknowledgement and commitment letter. where you find this commitment letter. In case you've never heard of it, you can go to the KRA website. Under the eTIMS menu, you'll just find the acknowledgement and commitment letter for download purposes. So once you download it, you're supposed to fill appropriately and then upload it. So at that point, you're done with your part for the application purpose. Um, so the next thing is that it will be received by a KRA officer, and they'll just do the due diligence to confirm that the details that you've actually provided correspond to what is on iTax as per the records. So once they're satisfied that everything is in order, they'll approve it, and you'll receive a text message on the same number to confirm that your request has been approved. And in depending with your application, there are instances where there's an administrator login and password, login user ID and password that are usually sent for purposes of logging in and creating a password. So those are the messages that you're supposed to expect when your request has been approved. And in the case where it's rejected, you get a notification on the same. So yeah, that being said, the next thing after approval is now raising an invoice. So once you raise your invoice to the tail end, you shall be able to transmit it, and with that, we'll have achieved compliance with the ETI regulations. So eTIMS, so we have eTIMS installation by taxpayer representatives. So where you as a director choose to send a representative, say an accountant or even just an administrator to carry out this process on your behalf, there are a few requirements or rather even documents that you're supposed to send with them. So one of them is an introductory letter that should be signed and stamped, preferably on the letterhead of the business or the taxpayer. So again, the letter should contain the contact information of the director so that in case we'd like to confirm whether it's actually genuine, we're able to get a hold of you and get authorization and facilitate your representative. So the other thing is the field commitment letter, duly filled and signed. And finally, the confirmation of directorship, and this is through a copy of the ID and the CR12. Note that it's not or, it's and. So we'll need both the ID copy and the CR12 document showing that that you're the director of the business. So so in the case where an application is being made by the representative, that letter should be uploaded together with the commitment form. So you merge the two documents into one and then upload them together. So this is the sign up page that we had looked at previously. And then we can have a look at the sample invoices from the eTIMS solutions. So this is an eTIMS. So you'll note that we'll look at two samples. We have for a VAT registered taxpayer and a non-VAT registered taxpayer. So for VAT registered taxpayer, we'll just look at the key features, or rather we'll do a comparison to see the differences. So the first thing you'll notice is that it has the eTIMS logo, yeah, and then below that it captures the your business's details. That's the seller's details in this case. So it will capture the name of your business, the location, the contact information, and final PIN number. So under that, you'll also see that we have the buyer information, and that captures the PIN number and the name of the buyer. That's your client. On the top right side, you can see that we have the invoice number and the date on which the invoice was raised. So this is where you find the invoice number. And then we have the transaction details. That's the item code, the description of the particular item or service that you're offering, the quantity, the tax rate. In this case, it's 16%. Please pay attention to this because this is one of the differences that you'll notice for a non-VAT uh, raised invoice. So we also have the amount exclusive of tax, the tax amount that's being charged, and finally the amount inclusive of tax. So down here is where I was telling you there is a QR code used for verification on whether it's a valid or an invalid invoice. And over here you also find the breakdown of the tax. Yeah, so you can see that it's under the 16% line where it was subjected to 16%, and that's the VAT charge, total amount, and taxable amount. So we also have the invoice number repeated down here, as you can see. So let's look at the an invoice for non-VAT. So as you can see, it's more or less similar, but there are just very small differences that you'll be able to notice. So it has the eTIMS logo again. It has the seller's details. That's your business details. It has the buyer's details. It has the invoice number. But when you come to now the transaction details, you'll find under the rate, it has the initials NV, and that's non-VAT. Yeah. So take note of that. And then when you come down here, there's a repetition of the invoice number. You have the QR code once again. And then under the breakdown again, you can see it's the rate is non-vertable. So that's the invoice for a non-VAT kind of business. So this is also, so we have looked at the first two are eTIMS generated. So this is for a Teams generated invoice, maybe for those who interacted with the Teams device, ETR devices. So we have the buyer's details. Yeah, that's the buyer pin captured here. We have the control unit serial number. That's for the device. We have the control unit invoice number. That's the invoice number of the particular transaction. And finally, we have the QR code for verification purposes, as you can see. So that's for the Teams generated invoice. Finally, we have the public notice that was published a while back on the mandatory phase of using, or rather the mandatory phase of using the electronic tax invoices, or rather invoicing system. So you can again skim through it. But again, it's available on the KRA website. So with that, maybe to provide our contact details, you can reach us through teamsupport@kra.go.ke. That's our email address, and our contact numbers are 0709012730. We also have extension 2735, 2734, 2082, 2077, and finally 2079. We are located on 8th floor at the JQuat Towers. That's along Kenyatta Avenue. So that's where you'll find our eTIMS or rather teams operations unit. So with that, that brings us to the end of that presentation. Forgive me for the several interruptions and the background noise. But yeah, I hope we've been able to learn a thing or two about what eTIMS is all about. So thank you very much. Back to you, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Truly, it's been an insightful presentation, irrespective of the hitches that we've experienced here and there. So I'd like to go straight away into our chat, into our chat box. In the check, I've seen a few questions. I have collated those that are similar. So I'll just be asking. The most common one is about this presentation that you're using. You can be able to find it on the KRA website. Additionally, at the beginning, we mentioned that we are live on KRA TV YouTube page and even the KRA TV platform. So you can be able to get a recording, or you can do a reference here and there if you need from the presentation through the YouTube or KRA TV channel. On the another question that has is a bit prevalent is about those who are seeking to amend their returns. Okay. They're asking, the common question is, what are the supporting documents that you need to upload when amending this return? I think we can be taking a question and an answer, or you want me to ask 2 or 3 questions, then you can answer them at one go. Victor, maybe you can guide me on that.
Yes, I can take maybe 3 questions.
Okay. So that is one. The other prevalent question is what is the best way to capture the 2 zeros before the invoice number to avoid losing them when uploading data? Will this also bring inconsistencies? Okay, that is another one. And then
Yes.
there's one also on I have let me just take this as an individual question from Abel. He's saying, if I have some VAT inconsistencies whereby a supplier supplies to me and the customer use different invoice numbers, how do I go about this? Don't know if that is very clear.
Thank you very much once again, Cynthia,
Mhm.
and the participants for the questions. For the first question, that's to do with refunds. Well, uh, for that one, allow me to confirm, because for this particular unit, we mainly deal with invoicing purposes and not necessarily refunds. But I can just confirm that and then get back to the particular taxpayer that asked on that.
Okay. Um, this quest this question on reinstallation of the eTIMS. Is it possible to reinstall eTIMS after a laptop hardware malpractice? If my laptop had broken down and I need a reinstallation, can that be done? Victor, are you still there?
Cynthia, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Great. I'm saying that I'll just take the second, third, and fourth question now. See, there was a question about capturing the invoice number.
Mhm.
And what I'd encourage the taxpayer to do is just bear with the manual way of doing it for now. But from the presentation, you saw that we are working on an auto filled VAT return, and this will be capturing everything. As long as you've transmitted these invoices, it will be able to capture the invoice number, the PIN, the details that are required, right? So for now, we it will bring about discrepancies, but you from the discrepancy report be able to tell where you made the error and then at least modify or fix it. But with in the course of time, we shall be able to roll out the auto-populated return, and that will make that work much easier. So the other question was on reinstallation. Yes, it's very much possible to reinstall the software in the case where the device has crashed, the device has been stolen, or the, there are several other instances where taxpayers come requesting for the change of device or installation of the software. But depending with the nature of the query, there are requirements. Like in the case where a device has been stolen, what we require you to provide is a police abstract to prove the same. If the device has crashed, you can bring the device that has crashed for us to confirm on the same, or a job card of the technician who has viewed, or rather looked at the device and seen that it actually had a problem. So there's a criteria that we follow when it comes to the change of device or the reinstallation of the software. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that response. I'll take 3 more questions. June is asking, hi, I filed my last month's returns using the invoice numbers instead of CU numbers. Is there a problem with that? Do I need to file an amended return? And then there is a Mary, she's saying, for returnable packagings, some customers stay with the packages for more than 6 months. How do I go about raising credit notes? We invoice packagings with goods and raise credit notes upon returning. Okay. And then the other one, somehow related, is when you issue CN to cancel an invoice in our accounting systems, are we supposed to do the same on eTIMS? Maybe we can take those 3.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll start with the first one about the control unit number. So please note that for purposes of filing, you should be using the CU invoice number. That's a control unit invoice number. And in the case where you've used anything different for that particular taxpayer, they'll need to amend the return. And previously, there's another question that was asked on the same that maybe I had failed to shed light on, and it was that uh, uh, which one you're supposed to use for purposes of filing, and the answer is the same, where you're provided with invoice number and now the CU invoice number, control unit invoice number, or the, because you see at the moment what I've realized that businesses are doing, they're raising 2 invoices. One that you see captures their branding, that's their logo, etc. And it also has an invoice number. And then they also raise one from the eTIMS system, and then they send them together. So in the case that you receive such invoices, the one that you're supposed to make reference to for purposes of filing, is the one that has been generated through eTIMS. And if you ask me, it's as though the taxpayers are doing double work, yeah, because as long as you generate an invoice using the eTIMS software, no business will dispute that invoice. But again, there are businesses that are very interested about the portraying of their image, so they'd like their brand to also sell. So as long as they also, you know, provide the eTIMS invoice, then you see they are okay on our end, rather they are compliant, so there's nothing we can do about that. But for purposes of filing, you should make reference to the eTIMS generated invoice. And finally, okay, there are two more questions about the packaging. You see, the taxpayer mentioned that it takes more than 6 months for them to, bring the packages back now for one to raise a credit note. Yeah, or rather, yeah, to raise a credit note. But if it exceeds 6 months, you understand that that's the law. So there's really nothing we can do about it. So the cap is at 6 months. Before that, you can again raise a credit note. But after that, I mean, there's not much you can do about that. And finally, um, for credit notes, if I got the question correctly, it was if while using their system, they raise credit notes, if they should also do the same on the eTIMS platform. Again, I refer back to my previous point. Please note that for the eTIMS system, that's what is usually transmitted to KRA, not the in-house billing system. It's the eTIMS system that's usually the records from the eTIMS system that are usually transmitted to KRA. So whatever you do in your in-house accounting, you should replicate the same in the eTIMS system. So to answer that question, they also need to raise a credit note on the eTIMS system. So yes, that's for the three questions.
Okay, thank you. So we move to the last set of two from what I can see on the chat. Eric is asking for taxpayers claiming input VAT. In cases where the QR code scanned does not show details, can it still be used to file VAT? And what happens when you don't put the buyer's PIN on the invoice? Does it make the VAT filing invalid? Okay. And then I think it's the same one from Elvis. When the QR codes are scanned and they don't show details, does it mean the invoices are not submitted to KRA? Okay, so the other one is more of a complaint about the control unit checker and the invoice number checkers on iTax. They are bringing errors when we are trying to prompt a request to check numbers through the system. Is there a problem with the control unit checker and the invoice number checker on the iTax platform?
Um, that has been noted, Cynthia. So I'll start with the first question. If the QR code is not showing details, that I'll just go back to reference the presentation. The moment you get an invoice that has been generated through the eTIMS system, the first thing to verify if the invoice is valid and has been transmitted is through scanning the QR code. When you're able to see your details, that shows that the invoice, or rather the transaction details, have been transmitted. Where you find that it's actually the eTIMS invoice, but when you scan there is no transaction details, it means that the likelihood is that it's been raised off net. Yes, they have used the system, but it's been raised without internet connection, and therefore the invoices have not been transmitted. So it's for you as now the as a buyer to ensure that when you scan the QR code, it actually displays the transaction details, confirming that it has been raised through the eTIMS system and it has been transmitted. That is to answer the first question. So the other one is the significance of inputting the buyer PIN details. It's especially when you're dealing with businesses that want to claim the VAT as input, it's very important to input their KRA PIN number. Because you see, the moment you input the KRA PIN number, if you have interacted with the eTIMS system, you realize there is a purchase module. As much as there is a sales module, there's also the purchase module. And if I, as a seller, sell to person A and I enter person A's the person A's PIN number while doing the transaction, what happens is when person A logs onto eTIMS under purchase management, they're able to see the transaction that has been made, the purchase that they've been able to make. So the moment you enter the PIN, it reflects on the purchase module of the buyer. So it is very, very important for filing purposes to include the PIN number of the buyer. So yes, that's for the questions. Unless I've missed anyone, anything, Cynthia.
Thank you. I think you have sufficiently answered the questions from the same taxpayer. And then I can take, I had forgotten about the ones on our YouTube. Those who are following us on YouTube, I have three questions. So I'll start with Linda Chepkochei. She says, or she's asking, how does one reset their eTIMS password personally? And then there is Joseph Langu. He's asking, is it a must for a taxpayer to visit the KRA office when onboarding eTIMS, or is there any provision for doing this remotely? He has a follow-up question. Does raw fish fall in the category of non-vertible products? What advice would you give a business involved with sales of raw fish, fingerlings in regard to compliance with eTIMS?
Uh,
That?
yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank you very much. So for the first question about the password reset, um, there has been an error when there's so especially for those using the online system, there was a provision for them to reset the passwords themselves. Yeah, but there has been, I think, because of the number of times people who are just using the forgot password option each and every time, they are just forgetting the passwords. You can't even tell whether it's intentional or just trying to see how far the system can take it. But because of that, now for one to be able to reset their password, they need to get in touch with us for us to do a password reset on our end on the back of the back end of now the system. Yeah. So for password reset, at the moment, we encourage the taxpayers to just get in touch with us, and the password reset is instant. See, the moment you call a line and you request for the password reset, it is done instantly. So that's on the password reset. For the other question by Mr. Joseph, um, what I'd say is if you feel like you have fully understood the onboarding procedure, that's you can be able to tell the nature of your business and the software solution that's required for your business. You can go ahead to do your part as a taxpayer for the application by yourself, and then once you're done, uh, the approvals are usually queued, but you can actually make a call to KRA and highlight that you have done a service request. And once you do that, whoever will receive the call will be in a position to do the approval for you. Once the approval is done, the next thing is to download the software if it's for the e-client options, and if not, uh, and if it's just if it's now the e-client software solutions that need to be downloaded, you can proceed to go to the KRA website, download the actual one, because there are several options. There is a PayPoint Windows, there is a multi-PayPoint Windows, there is a PayPoint Android. So it's for you to be very careful to get the right software to download. And once you do that, we have provided procedure manuals also on that same website. So if you feel like you're in a position to do it yourself and technically you're able to do so, there's nothing that should stop you from doing it. So it's actually a process that you can do by yourself, or even request for remote assistance. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. David, Mr. Joseph, sorry. And for the other question, for the raw fish question, please get in touch with us, and we'll provide um, a detailed um, a detailed explanation of what's expected of you and how best you can be able to comply. I'd suggest that you write an email to us on teamsupport@kra.go.ke, and we shall be able to advise you in the best way possible. So, yeah, thank you, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you too. I can see there are follow-up questions from other taxpayers. Adrian Mwangi, you have a concern. He's saying, do I now throw away my ETR machine? And Peter Ocheng is asking, what about hospitals? Should they onboard eTIMS? Maybe we can just take those two as we end the presentation.
So, um, for the businesses that have been using the ETR, and by ETR I mean the Teams compliant ones, not the old ones. If they have been using the Teams compliant ETR machines, they can continue using the ETR compliant machines, Teams devices, and it functions the same way the eTIMS solution works. So there is no need to get rid of your ETR devices; they can still be used. And for let me answer the next question. So for there are certain bodies which are exempt, but there are certain services that they offer which are not exempt. So you can be a body that's exempt, but some of the services that you're offering are not exempt. Some of the supplies that you do are not exempt. So it's for you to be able to tell which of the two applies to you. So it can be a hospital, but they're dealing with services that are vatable or even are subject to some kind of tax. So yeah, that's what I mean by that.
Okay, I think that is very clear. Um, so in the interest of time, because I can see we've taken like an hour to discuss eTIMS, um, and I've seen that most of the questions that we had on the chat have been addressed. Unless there's someone who has a burning issue, we can give you a chance. You can raise your hand and ask your question or concern. But for now, I think we'd like to end it at this for the eTIMS presentation because we have two more lined up um, on the two more lined up presentations. So I'd like to end it at this point for eTIMS, and I welcome you, Victor, for your closing remarks on the subject on eTIMS.
So thank you very much, Cynthia, and thank you also for your questions. At least they help you to get a better understanding of some of the areas that you get stuck in, because we understand that eating is a new system, and new systems, well, they take time before you fully understand them, or even get in terms or know how to use them. But the encouraging bit is that the more you continue using them, the more simpler it becomes. So just brace yourself. eTIMS is the way to go, and we encourage you to continue using the system, and to continue complying as it's your mandate as a citizen as well. And yeah, all in all, thank you for availing yourselves and for giving me the time to at least educate you on eTIMS. And thank you very much also, Cynthia, for the moderation.
You are welcome. What a way to end our presentation on eTIMS. So thank you to Victor for availing the time to talk to us about eTIMS and the new things or the matters that have arisen since the rollout was done some time back. I'm sure our taxpayers have been answered through all the questions that have been asked. Additionally, we will be able to sample these questions and give them to the team's office. They'll be able to respond, and then we can share it out to you, our participants, in form of an FAQ, so that in case you need to make a reference, you can be able to do that. Victor Morogo, you have a burning question. I can see your hand is raised, even your video. Okay. I thought you have anything, but sawa. Sorry, I had not seen you. That must be burning. So, Victor, if you would please allow me, I'd like to
Sure
give
thing.
Victor a chance to. Victor, are you able to unmute yourself? Victor, are you still on?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think Victor needs to unmute himself.
Kindly unmute, Victor. Okay, you can go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Concerning the eTIMS invoice, is it possible for you to insert other specific information for us, especially the account number and the logo of your company? Is it possible for us to edit to still input some details to that invoice?
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor, for representing the victors in the house. Anyway, for your question, there has been that concern raised by several taxpayers about if the eTIMS can accommodate their logos and even some of the relevant information on the invoices. And we've picked it up, and we are working on how we can enhance the system to be able to accommodate all this information. So it's something in the works. We just encourage you to be patient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Victor. We'll move on to Fusion. Fusion, please unmute yourself and go on. Okay, maybe that has an audio challenge. So we can move to Lawrence.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Oh, yes, yes, we
Hello?
can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. So my name is
Please
Deepesh.
come and go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
please.
currently am registered on monthly rental income tax,
Mm-hmm.
and we declare this on iTax every month.
Yes.
So the question is, this is a personal PIN number for which we pay the MRI tax. Now, do we need to onboard onto eTIMS for that even?
Uh, the question raised by Fusion, my answer would be yes. You need to start using eTIMS system because eTIMS is just for the purposes of invoicing. The way you've been doing the filing on iTax is very much okay and very much in order. But just for a receipt issuance, we encourage you to onboard on eTIMS for facilitating that process. And with that, you see also the auto-populated return will also make your work easier because if you're able to transmit using the eTIMS system, you see even the filing work will be the burden will be lessened. So yes, the answer is yes. You need to onboard on eTIMS for purposes of receipt issuance.
Would we still have to declare it on iTax?
Yes, yes, that's correct. Because you see, eTIMS is just for purposes of receipt issuance. For filing purposes, you have to continue doing it as you've always done it. But now what you'll be doing is making reference to the invoice number from the eTIMS generated receipt.
Okay, and now since the invoice being generated is being issued to an individual and not a company, are we still going to have to move on to eTIMS? Because
Yes,
these are
that's
not
correct.
commercial properties, these are residential properties.
Yes, 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 that's correct. And it's just similar to someone, the end consumer would come to make a purchase from me, and yet I'm not claiming rather he is not claiming the input, or rather he's not claiming anything. So for purposes of compliance, all you need to do is just issue the receipt with maybe the individual PIN number, and that's all that's required of you.
Is it mandatory to have the PIN number declared for the tenant?
Well, there has been a concern on the same. If maybe I might answer that to also give a general answer to others who might have the same question. We are working on having a form of universal PIN that at least in the case where even a minor is maybe living in your house and they are paying rent, you can actually invoice them. But you see that's still under works. So for now
Right.
it's required, but
So
with
it's
time there shall be the provision of a universal PIN number to use.
so is it still mandatory to declare the PIN number for the individual?
Yes,
Because
it
from our
is.
last communication, we were told it's not necessary. The field for the PIN can be left blank.
Um, I'm not so sure where you got that information from,
Or it's from your
but
office.
from our office.
Yes.
I see. But it's a requirement for you to enter the PIN number.
Because there's a lot of hesitation from individuals to give their PIN numbers. So it also becomes a challenge for us.
Yeah,
We can only request and not, force them to give those PIN numbers.
that's correct. That's correct. So I think that's something I can take note of.
Please do.
And maybe if you can reach out to us through the contact information, we'll give you proper feedback on the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do that. Thank you very much for the facilitation.
you're most welcome.
Okay, thank you, Fusion. We'll move to Lawrence. Lawrence, your hand has been up. Please unmute yourself and go on. Okay, maybe as Lawrence is getting ready, Leah, if you're still on call, please unmute yourself and go on.
Hi, my name is Leah.
Yes, Leah, welcome and proceed.
So I'm asking, is there a limit to the number of invoices one can raise on the eTIMS? And how stable is it for the transactions, for the companies, especially on FMCG, because the invoices done in a day are so many and there needs to be stable internet for the same. Thanks.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Claire. So, there is no limit to the number of invoices you can do, but also it's again about understanding the nature of your business. Like from the description you've provided, I can already tell that your business requires integration so that you continue using the billing system that you have in place so that it does not affect the invoice generation. So there is no limit, there is no cap to the number of invoices you can generate in a day. And it's also important to know the specific software solution, a specific solution of eTIMS that you fall under. I hope that answers your question.
Leah, do you have a follow-up question or that is sufficient? All right, as maybe Leah prepares to come back, NK Brothers Limited.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Good.
Please proceed.
Yeah, good. I have a question. It's on a recent public notice that KRA has issued, saying that the businesses' expenditure not supported by the eTIMS generated invoices will not be allowable from January next year. Now, we are a building and general construction company, and we usually hire a lot of casual employees. So such casual employees, are they really supposed to give us eTIM supported documents? So I'm wondering how will those expenses be, are they taken or what will happen? And if possible, is there any list of what expenses will be allowed? As Mr. Victor said, the interest will be allowed. So I don't know if you have a proper guideline on that.
Okay, thank you for that question.
Thank you for the questions as well. So if we can go through the public notice again, the last part mentions that business expenditure not supported by an eTIMS generated tax invoice shall not be deductible for purposes of claiming or deducting from the 1st of January 2024. So, sorry, I think Lawrence's mic is on. Okay. So, so for your question, it is important for you to be getting eTIMS receipts from any supplier or any person offering you services if you'd like to have them deducted or if you'd want to claim. When
Claiming for
you're
corporate tax, I assume.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but you see, as I said, we are a general construction company, and we normally
Yes.
hire so many casual workers. So
Yeah.
such expenses, I don't know what we are supposed to do about that.
So what you're trying to say is this watu wa kazi ya mikono.
Yes, exactly.
Because the point is, even those casual workers, you're supposed to be, because again you do the payments and you claim the amount as expenses. So even for them, the idea is that you should also issue receipts to them through the eTIMS platform. So it's irrespective of the kind of service, it's irrespective of the nature of the service, as long as it's a service that's not exempt or is not exempt, you should just issue the receipt as required.
Okay.
Yeah. Cynthia, back to you.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know I was still on mute. So I was saying, Anthony, you are unmuted. Please proceed with your question or concern. Okay, maybe as Anthony gets ready to ask his question, we can give the chance to Rose. Rose, if you're still with us, you can please unmute and ask your question. Rose Kakali.
Afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, I'm in
Welcome,
the Sacco
Rose.
industry. Thank you. I'm in the Sacco financial sector, and we do rental. We pay rental. What I'm wondering is, when we are withholding with the withholding tax, do we need these eTIMS when you are submitting our tax? Then
Okay, that's a good question.
Then for a person who files, like I do individual returns for rent, people who pay rent for like 2 houses, 10,000, 20,000. Does this individual, do I have again to have that eTIMS for them for me to pay that the rent, to file that rent?
Thank you once again for the questions that are being raised. So Rose, also to answer your question, I'll just sum up the response into one. So
Yes.
for the non-VAT taxpayers, as long as you're in business, again, as long as you operate in business, whether it's monthly rental income of a single unit house or an apartment with 24 units, for example, the requirement is as long as you're in business, you're supposed to be issuing invoices to your clients through the eTIMS system.
And for the withholding tax, I still need in the circle because we are actually paying. We are not like receiving.
Because for it is it's for you as the business for purposes of issuing an invoice. So if you're the one buying, for you to ensure that pass on sending to you with the invoice. If that makes sense.
Sorry, Victor, you're not very clear. Please
Oh,
come
sorry.
again. Yes.
I'm saying, I don't
Yes,
know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we
yeah,
can.
I can,
Thank you.
yeah.
So sorry for that. I'm saying
Yes.
eTIMS is for purposes of you as a business owner invoicing. Yeah. So
Yes.
you're obligated to onboard on eTIMS if you are the one, the service owner, the director of you see a particular company. So if you're the one receiving, now it's for the one offering you the obligation to onboard on eTIMS is for the one offering you the service. I don't know if that
Okay.
answers your question.
That's right. That's in order.
Okay. All right. I think we can give the chance to two more people because we actually need to bring this to an end. Because of the presentations that are still coming up. So, Mark, you can unmute yourself and go ahead with your question
Good
or
afternoon.
concern. Good afternoon to you.
Yes. So
Welcome to the
my name is
discussion.
Mark. I wanted
Yes,
to
Mark.
ask.
Yes.
I do FMCG. And there are customers who deliberately refuse to give us their PINs. So how do we generate eTIMS invoice for such cases? Someone deliberately says I cannot give you. Okay, of course we have their telephone contacts. That is one. Secondly, if eTIMS is registered on a gadget like a laptop, and I have a second company, is it possible that I am able to migrate to a web-based solution other than being restricted to the laptop, so that I'm able to use to juggle between the companies, please?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Mark. So I'll first of all take the second question, and that's whether you can be, migrated to the online platform system for you to be able to juggle. Unfortunately, that's not possible because, again, as I mentioned, for the online platform, it's for only those who offer services. So the moment you start dealing with goods, um, um, you need to operate on the eTIMS software solution, which needs to be downloaded on a laptop or a desktop or a mobile phone. But it's been a concern for a while now that taxpayers have raised, and we are working on how to make this process easier. So it's something that we have taken up, and we are seeing what can be done. But at the moment, as it stands, you'll still need to be operating from that same laptop for purposes of invoicing. And for the first question, I believe we've tackled a similar question on the aspect of not having PIN numbers of the taxpayers that you need to invoice to. And as I said earlier, we are working on having a universal PIN for all the working clans, or for such cases where the clans don't want to produce their PIN numbers. So at least that will be able to cover that issue. I believe that should answer your question or your questions.
Okay, Mark, you okay with that? Okay, so I'll give the last chance to Mr. Simon Mwangi. So Simon, your hand has been up. Please unmute yourself and go on.
Thank you. Mine is a comment in regards to a question that was asked, which I think Victor clarify. I think
Yes,
the
please.
gentleman would about casual workers. I think casual workers are paid wages, and wages would go into the as you earn return and not eTIMS, because they are not they are earning wages, not invoicing for that. And I think that should be clarified so that it's clear that not each casual worker invoicing, rather their payment for wages might need to be reflected under the pay as you earn return. So correct me if I'm wrong, because that's my understanding. And the other one was going to be on the question asked by someone regarding hospitals, which I think the response would be what we just talked about finally on the universal PIN. I think that would help because generally hospitals are not affordable, mostly, medical services and drugs. And so if you're selling at your pharmacy, I think that's what they were asking. Someone comes and, people are buying drugs and you don't get to have their PIN. So that would be a problem. I guess the universal PIN would be the solution. Please comment on the first one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. And I totally agree with you. I think I misunderstood his question, because if it's how you have put it, I fully agree with you. And part of the presentation, one of the things I mentioned was that there are certain exemptions that are given to the one having to use the ETI transaction system. And one of them was emoluments received or payable subject to pay as you earn under the Income Tax Act. So the comment that you have provided falls under that bracket. So I agree with you. It falls under the wages. So sorry for that, for the individual I had maybe confused earlier on. And for the hospitals, I believe the question was different, was on whether they are taxable, or rather they need to use the system. It wasn't for them it wasn't applying to them as a client, but them as now the business offering the services or even the supplies.
Okay. So thank you, Victor, for providing that clarity. I can see your hands are still going up. So I would suggest that in the interest of time, kindly, we can draft our questions on the chat box. I will pick them up and will provide answers to them and be able to send them to you as an FAQ. Because we have like 2 more presentations coming up. I beg that we end at this point. So once again, Victor, thank you. Thank you so much for coming through. And to all our participants, thank you for logging in. I hope we have gotten some sort of information on how we can comply with regards to eTIMS. So thank you so much, Victor. Allow me now to introduce our second co-host, Madam Caroline Gitegi. She is from the Integrity Office in KRA, and she will be able to present to us a few things on integrity and national values. So please stay on board. She is joining us in a second. Okay, so welcome, Carol. Please proceed.
Right. Thank you, Cynthia. Welcome our esteemed taxpayers to this sensitization. I'm going to take us through ethics, integrity, and national values. My name is Carol Gitegi. I'm from the Department of Intelligence, Strategic Operations, Investigations, and Enforcement Departments. Let me repeat again. I'm from the Department of Intelligence, Strategic Operations, Investigations, and Enforcement. So I hope I'm audible. Can I be heard? Maybe can I get a response from the chat? Can you hear me? I hope I'm audible. Okay, so I'm going to take us through our mandate, what we do as our department, the initiatives that we've put in place to curb corruption in KRA, and also I'll allude to us about our national values and our principles of governance. And lastly, I'll talk about the informer, reward, complaints, and corruption reporting. So it's a very brief presentation. So with regard to our mandate as a department in KRA, our work is to promote integrity and also ethics. And this department called Intelligence, Strategic Operations, Investigation and Enforcement was established to promote integrity. And we have various mandates that we are expected to execute. And one of the mandates is intelligence collection. So we have a fully fledged division that deals with intelligence management. So we collect intelligence for tax purposes. We analyze and disseminate for revenue mobilization or investigation. So if taxpayers are not collecting, or rather they're not submitting their returns, we have avenues of collecting intelligence and also analyzing and disseminating that information to enable revenue mobilization. We also do, we normally investigate violations of tax and customs laws in order to foster voluntary tax compliance for enhanced revenue. We have a division that deals with investigations, whereby we investigate violations of tax and customs laws in order to foster voluntary tax compliance for enhanced revenue. Beside that, we also have a division that deals with prosecution and enforcement. We do prosecute violations of tax and customs. So we normally find some taxpayers are vulnerable or culpable. And if we have evidence, we've proved beyond reasonable doubt that you are found culpable, we'll always prosecute those taxpayers. On ethics and integrity, we mainstream ethics and integrity through anti-corruption policies, compliance monitoring, and also internal affairs, and also external investigation. So we have a fully fledged division that deals with internal affairs. If our staff are found culpable, they're able to be dealt with beyond reasonable doubt. And also we conduct external investigations to our taxpayers, as I said earlier. And then we also do vetting and conduct background checks for our staff. We do background checks before employment of our staff, and also we do vetting for promotion of staff. We have to ensure that those staff that are employed or that are being promoted are people of integrity. We also have a section that deals with a competent authority. It's called Competent Authority Office, and basically it deals with exchange of information with other jurisdictions based on the OECD Exchange of Information Standards. So we do exchange of information regarding taxpayers have been found culpable. We work with jurisdictions which have we've established or rather signed conventions with. And also we have a section that deals with complaints and corruption reporting, whereby we normally receive, analyze, and disseminate or inform or whistleblower information. So through this, we're able to get to know which complaints that we've received. We do analyze, and also we normally respond on complaints that staff or taxpayers might be having regarding our process. That's the mandate of our department. As I said, our department basically it deals with the promotion of integrity and ethics in what we do. With regard also to our department, as I said earlier, we normally detect, disrupt, and also do what we call deterrence, the 3 Ds. We do surveillance on taxpayers' processes just to get to check whether they're following or they're tax compliant or whether they're engaging in illicit trade. We normally execute search warrants. We analyze and review taxpayer records. That's what part of the thing that we do in terms of detection. On disruption, we normally issue departure prohibition orders, asset caveats or issuance of urgency notices. We do what we call cancellation of tax compliance, deactivation of pains, and also arrest and prosecution of offenders if they have been found culpable. On deterrence, we do taxpayer education and awareness. As I'm doing now, I'm doing awareness to our stakeholders for them to be informed about our processes. And also we do media publicity among others, and also prosecution, and also imposition of penalties to taxpayers who have been found culpable. So we normally use 3 Ds. It's detection, disruption, and deterrence. And this is meant to foster voluntary tax compliance for enhanced revenue. And also it's meant to investigate violations of tax and also customs laws. So which measures have we put in place to address corruption? I've shared the highlights about our mandate, what we do, the 3 Ds. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, we have a fully fledged department called Intelligence, Strategy, Operation, Investigation, and Enforcement, which oversees the integrity in KRA. For instance, we conduct lifestyle audits, investigations on staff, and also on tax evasion. KRA has automated its processes. Digitization is very key in our processes, and that's why we have, my colleague was talking about eTIMS. So we endeavor to automate our processes and create awareness about those processes. So KRA has its key functions, which have been automated. For instance, iTax. We have the integrated customer management system. We have the electronic cargo tracking system, or the regional electronic cargo tracking system that tracks cargo along the northern corridor. Also, we have the one-stop border posts, which have been gazetted, and this is to prevent illicit goods, or also to promote trade facilitation. So automation is very key in each of the processes. We have a taxpayers charter that spells out the rights and obligation of taxpayers, and this one can be accessed via KRA website. We train our taxpayers on ethics, integrity, and also on national values. We investigate on staff and tax evaders and enforcement also of the KRA Code of Conduct. This is part of the things that we do. And also we have anti-corruption policies that we've put in place. And these policies, one of them is the KRA anti-corruption policy. And this policy provides that anti-corruption framework. The policy provides that KRA is zero tolerance towards corruption, and it is the responsibility we need to fight corruption, the efforts and commitment from management, staff, and also from the stakeholders. So KRA is zero tolerance towards corruption. We also have a gift policy in place, and the authority shall not allow staff to accept money, gifts, and donations, or any consideration as an inducement or reward from other members of staff or stakeholders or public extended to them by virtue of their official position, or any act of omission which may influence the decisions. So whenever time we give our staff gifts, donations, or inducements, they won't be able to make proper judgment. And why should a taxpayer give gifts, money, or donations to our staff? For instance, if you give a KRA staff money, that is a bribery. So we have a gift policy that clearly states that whenever time an officer receives a money for the work that he's supposed to do, that is a bribery. And again, also, this policy states that a KRA staff is not supposed to receive any gift or donation from a taxpayer because he or she may give an improper judgment. We also have a policy called whistleblower policy, and the policy provides a framework to the members of the public and also KRA staff to provide information on corruption, on tax evasion, and any other malpractices without fear of reprisals, victimization, or discrimination. We also have a policy that is called conflict policy, and the conflict policy is a situation in which someone in a position of trust has competing professional or personal interests. So such competing interests can make it difficult to fulfill his or her duties fairly. So this could be actual, can have potential or perceived interests. Examples, as I said earlier, is when our taxpayers, our suppliers give or induce or submit gifts to our officers for them to expedite a process for something that they know very well they are supposed to execute. So such gifts may also include non-tangible things of value. So ladies and gentlemen, we have KRA anti-corruption policies that we've put in place. And these policies deter or rather are meant to promote integrity in our process. One of them is the KRA anti-corruption policy. We have the gift policy statement. We have the KRA whistleblower policy. And lastly, we have the conflict of interest policy. So these are the 4 policies that KRA has put in place to curb corruption. Last but not least, as an authority, we are expected to abide to national values and the principles of governance. At the same time, we're supposed to share these values with our taxpayers, with our stakeholders. These values and principles of governance are enshrined under the Constitution, that is under Article 10.2 of the Constitution. We have 17 national values, and I'll just mention them. We are supposed to be patriotic, whereby we are required to pay our taxes voluntarily. We are supposed to uphold national unity. Tunasema kwa Kiswahili ni umoja wa kitaifa. Umoja wa kitaifa, it's about one Kenya, one people, and one destiny. We need to foster cohesion and work synergistically. We need to uphold, or rather sharing and devolution of power, governing ugatuzi wa mamlaka. Now we have a central, and we also have the county government, the national and the county governments. And of course, KRA has offices in all those devolved governance systems, which are meant to reach out to our stakeholders. We're also supposed to uphold the rule of law, respect the law, and we need to uphold the rule of law through abiding to our policies, our frameworks. For instance, eTIMS matters, the way we are doing systems enhancement, the way we are promoting eTIMS. We need to uphold and we need to respect the law and also just pay our taxes voluntarily. We need to be democratic. We have what we call democracy and participation of people, whereby we need to participate in decision making. And I know KRA normally involves stakeholders or our taxpayers whenever time we are coming up with new regulations. We're also supposed to promote a human dignity. And this is through upholding individual rights. Like each one of us has a right. As I said earlier, we have a taxpayers charter. And it clearly states the rights of taxpayers and the obligations of taxpayers. We need to uphold equity. And equity is usawa in Kiswahili. It's about being fair, regardless of our gender, ethnicity, and religion. So we need to uphold these values in our modus operandi, in whatever thing that we do at home, at our place of work. We also need to foster social justice. This is about the welfare of individuals. We need to be concerned about the welfare of our individuals whom we work with. For instance, when KRA is concerned about the taxpayers, because they need to be informed about taxation. Inclusivity, it's public participation in decision making. And that's why we have an inclusive strategy in KRA, whereby we have to engage our taxpayers. Our taxpayers always participate in our activities. For instance, during the taxpayer month, we were awarding taxpayers who have been compliant. So we normally factor inclusivity and also equality to ensure that we engage our taxpayers. We also need to foster non-discrimination, whereby KRA offers services to all persons without bias. You can come to KRA, any KRA office. We have our sign language interpreters who have done sign language. We have ramps for PWDs, persons with disabilities. We have parking places for PWDs. So we practice non-discrimination as a national value. by offering services to all persons without bias. Again, we promote good governance. Basically, good governance is about accountability in the management of public resources and also upholding integrity by doing the right thing at the right time. Let's be accurate in computation of our taxes. Let's submit our taxes without engaging in corruption. We need to be transparent and accountable. And lastly, we need to foster sustainable development in our processes. So we have our 17 national values in our constitution, and I want to urge all of us to ensure that we mainstream them in our processes. At your own time, you can read in depth about this Article 10.2 of the Constitution we are supposed to uphold as an authority, and also as taxpayers. We are required to create awareness by Public Service Commission on these national values and the principles of governance. Last but not least, in case you have complaints regarding our processes, in case you want to report conflicts of interest, in case you want to report fraud, diversion of goods, and tax evasion, you can write via iwhistle@kra.go.ke, and your information will be treated with utmost confidentiality. So you can report via iwhistle.kra.go.ke, and your information will be treated with utmost confidentiality. Also, you can write to us via email. Our emails are cic@kra.go.ke, or through corruptionreporting@kra.go.ke. You can walk in person to KRA 26th floor or any other KRA office and report any malpractices. You can write to the Commissioner General through Complaints and Information Center, CIC, Kenya Revenue Authority, or you can telephone us through 0726 984 668, 0726 984 668. You can take a caption of this by your phone, or you can write to us also. You can telephone us through 0709 017 700 or 800. So these are just the reporting channels that we have for reporting corruption. You can report web-based, whereby through iWhistle, which is a web-based anonymous reporting system. We also have an informal reward. Whenever time you're able to give us information or intelligence that enables us to collect revenue, we'll be able to reward you. So we want to do business with our taxpayers. We want to reward them, and we really want information from you as our informers. So if you give us information on tax evasion, and we'll be able to collect that revenue from your information, KRA will reward you. So we have an informal reward framework, which is an incentive to the public to share information that can lead KRA from the tax evaders to recover tax revenue. So Section 5A of the KRA Act provides that a person is entitled to a reward as follows: where the information leads to recovery of unassessed taxes or duties, 5 million or 5% of the taxes or duties recovered, whichever is less, shall be paid to that taxpayer. So we have an informal reward framework whereby we normally reward our informers. So if you give us information that enables us to collect revenue, we'll be able to give you 5% of what has been recovered to a maximum of 5 million. So we have an informal reward framework for rewarding our informers. So that's what I had for us today on ethics, integrity, and national values. And I want to thank our esteemed taxpayers for being patient and for learning from us on the KRA Integrity Program. Thank you very much. In case you have any question, feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you, Madam Carol Gitegi. from the Integrity Office in KRA for those that insightful information on integrity and national values. So if you have any questions for her, you can do them on the chat. We can be able to take them at the end of the presentation. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we had three presenters, one from the eTIMS team, the other one from integrity, and also from customs. Unfortunately, due to unavoidable circumstances, she has had to step out for an urgent matter that required her attention. So our kindest apologies for that, but I think from next Thursday, we can be able to recap and now present on the frequently asked questions by travelers across Kenyan borders. So allow me to end it at this point. Thank you so much for your resilience and for participating in our discussion today. Still feel free to reach us on any of our contacts, either through email, through telephone number. For any inquiry or query that you might have, you can also get in touch through our call center. We can be able to respond to your issues or comments. So for today, allow me to end it at this point. Thank you to our presenters, Madam Carol and Victor. Thank you also to our participants for taking your time to log in to the call today. I have been your moderator for the day. My name is Cynthia Kiribo from the Tax Education Division in KRA. Have a good afternoon and God bless you all. Thank you.